Welcome to a combat mission after action report for a player versus player battle in the modern theatre of Black Sea. I purchased the game in 2014 when it was released, but never really gelled with it. In the 6 years it's been out, it's not really had any additional developer content, and I've been enjoying the World War II stuff, so I haven't touched it for probably 4 years or more. That is, until October last year, when Monk asked if I fancied a player versus player match. I thought, why not? Black Sea focuses on a hypothetical war between NATO and Russia over Ukrainian territory in the year 2017, NATO here being purely the US. The game was released before the actual real-world situation took place, but a freaky bit of premonition. It captures the barbarity of the modern battlefield well. Weapons are brutal and engagements swiftly escalate. Whilst the mechanics and user interface are the same as the World War II titles, it has a faster feel to the action. With such powerful weapons, first shot destruction is a large element. I enjoyed my battle with Monk. A video of that is in the works. But it prompted me to enrol in a Black Sea Field Warriors tournament, run at the Few Good Men community by Sly Sniper. The tournament format is simple. A player is given a pre-selected force. The goal is to achieve the best result possible with the situation, and each battle scoring will be awarded to the top 50% from each side of the battle. In other words, your situation could be very challenging or unwinnable, but perform better than 50% of the players playing that side of the battle, and you will be given a point value based upon the result. It's not a grand campaign, but a battle-by-battle contest against 29 other players. Each battle is short, maximum 30 minutes, and will involve commanding any of the 3 protagonists in Black Sea. So that's the context. What's this video? Here, in my first engagement, I'm in command of a Ukrainian force against the Russians. I'm to prevent the Russians from securing key terrain and to inflict as heavy casualties as possible. The enemy have 5 terrain objectives which I'm not aware of, and my victory objective is to inflict as many casualties as possible. My losses have no effect on the outcome, other than influence my group's ability to fight and inflict further casualties. Intel suggests I'm outnumbered, and against superior combat equipment, at least 2 platoons and 2 T-90 main battle tanks. So firstly, I need to understand my force composition. I've had to spend some time reading up on the specifications and performance of the equipment and weapon platforms in Black Sea. I may get some stuff wrong. Please feel free to call me out in the comments, I'm always learning. I have a platoon of 6 T-64 BV main battle tanks. They are from the late 70s, and though they've been upgraded over the years with such things as ERA, they are outclassed by T-90s. The T-64 has a 125mm main gun and fires heat, APFSDS or high explosives. Infantry-wise, I have 1 mechanised platoon from 3rd Company, 1st Tactical Group, which comprises 3 squads of 6 men. 3 BTR-4Es, which is a Ukrainian customization of the BTR, with a 30mm autocannon and 2 barrier anti-tank guided missiles, or ATGM, built into the BTRs. I also have a weapons platoon with 3 PKM 7.62 medium machine guns, 3 Corsair infantry ATGM and another 4 BTR-4Es. I have 3 on-map 120mm mortars with a forward observer team, 3rd Company CO team, a Spear 73mm recoilless rifle team, and the 1st Tactical Group's commanding officer. All their mechanised transports give me a further 3 BTR-4Es. So, in total, I have 6 2nd-gen main battle tanks, 9 BTRs, which give me 18 barrier ATGMs, 3 MMGs, 3 squads, 3 infantry ATGMs, 3 120mm mortars with various forward observer and commanding teams. Having had very little experience with Black Sea equipment, I'm going to base a lot of my decisions on the mission brief and intel. So regarding my force, I'm going to assume I'm outnumbered and my opponent has notably superior equipment, as per the mission brief. For the area of operations, I don't have to consider any terrain objectives. However, I need to consider my opponent's objectives. Rather than try to identify specific locations, I have looked at the operational area and I'm going through my usual basic terrain analysis. There are no large areas in the AO which block infantry or heavy vehicle movement. There are various buildings which need to be manoeuvred around, such as the housing here. It is all navigable but gives some opportunities for keyhole positions. There are two basic enemy avenues of approach, from the lowland through the hollow on the left flank, or across the fields on the high ground to the right and centre. To counter against an advance in the left, I need to defend the wood and buildings at the entrance to the hollow. The high ground is open and exposed, so I'm not going to station anyone there. However, in depth there are 3 groups of buildings positioned with decent line of sight over the high ground. There is also an opportunity to position armour in hull-down positions close to these locations. From here, I can get some good observation over the avenues of advance and potential fields of fire. Its daylight and visibility is good, with field crops and trees providing good concealment. Most of the buildings look to be wooden construction, so give limited cover against small arms and none against weapons such as the 30mm autocannon. I shall avoid using them for infantry. They are obvious and easily destroyed with modern weapons. Ground conditions are dry, with little risk to vehicles, so I'm pretty free where I manoeuvre. So, to my plan. I occupy the larger part of the AO, and I assume the Russians need to engage me and kick me off the areas they need to occupy. That means George has to advance to contact. My Black Sea armour experience is maybe 5 years old, so I'm very rusty. I'm expecting the T-90s to rape my T-64s in any open battle. I'm going to have to engage multiple versus 1, so I'm going to need to find him, manoeuvre various assets and then engage, ganging up on him. My strategy is to hide, wait for my opponent to make the first move and try and slice bits off of him rather than take him head on, death by 1,000 cuts. I can lose my entire force with no impact upon my victory points. However, I can't stop George advancing with just harsh language, so I need to keep my equipment alive. The 25-minute battle kicks off. Most of my force remains static. However, 3 of the T-64s are going to advance to secure more forward defensive positions. I want to support the BTRs with armour that can take some hits from BMPs. Quickly I hear autocannons. It seems the Russians are pounding a vantage point on my forward left flank. No one is there, but it suggests the Russians have entered the AO in the top right, southeast sector. The MBTs move towards their positions. From deep in my rear, Sergeant Mishchenko fires upon a potential observation post. Once spotted, a unit's survival time in the modern era is considerably shorter than in World War II. The MBT quickly reverses to relocate to a different position. called in smoke forward of my left defence. I want to get George guessing. Do I have forces there? Am I withdrawing or maybe attacking? As the spotting rounds billow out, we get our first look at a T90 and a glimpse of a BMP-4. Suddenly, there's a brief exchange. The BMP fires 80 rounds at the repositioned T64, and my ATGM spots and lasers the T90, causing it to activate its APS smoke.
Пристрілка. Прийнято. Прийнято.
Танк! В укрытие!
The ATGM then spots the BMP, firing a missile which is intercepted by the BPM's APS. The BPM then returns fire.
Следующим будешь!
Пристрілка. Прийнято.
I lose the ATGM. Things quickly start to escalate. A second BMP advancing towards the hollow is fired at with RPGs. A miss and a hit on the ERA. A T90 is lasered by my right flank. It fires smoke. The second T90 spots a T64 and destroys the main gun. The battlefield is filling with smoke as I spot two BMPs advancing across the high ground. A command BTR opens up, peppering the rear BMP. I order the T64 forward, and the BMP drives right in front of Pavlenko, who has spotted a T90. Firing through the BMP, Pavlenko hits the T90, striking ERA. Crew sight again. No APS is fired, a second 125mm shell slams into the T90, knocking it out as Russians pour out of the destroyed BMP that Pavlenko used as a laser shield. The command BTR finishes off the BMP abandoned on the high ground. Pavlenko's crew rotate the turret to line up with a third BMP as Russians stream out of the IFV. Vlasenko brings his T-64 forward to engage an APS BMP as it fires on the command BMP in death. I've sent the company HQ and the recoilless rifle team with their BTRs as a QRF to support Pavlenko. It's too late, and the T-64 takes a hit. Only the driver escapes. On my left, I'm shoring up my defence. A BTR from 4th Platoon is destroyed by a BMP, and I very nearly lose a second to a T-90.
Пристрілка. Прийнято. Накривання цілі.
Shells arch across the battlefield as the command BTR strikes what looks like a BMP-3. They've revealed themselves and go up in flames from unknown return fire. Fedorenko on the right flank fires blindly, hoping to hit a BMP that was flanked second squad in the hollow.
Пристрілка. Прийняв.
And my QRF on the right flank continue to dismantle buildings which could be holding the BMP crew and passengers.
Пристрілка. Прийнято. Накривання цілі.
We have 8 minutes left, and I have Shapoval and Valisenko's T-64 crews trying to take out the T-90 on the high ground. The QRF 3rd Company HQ is destroying the buildings on my southern flank with autocannons, and I'm defending the entrance to the hollow on my left flank. There's a stubborn BMP-3 that manages to take out another of my BTRs. I'm happy with my position so far, but I'm cautious to push too hard. I don't want to lose too many vehicles and potentially suffer a counterattack. Chapoval takes fire from an infantry grenade launcher hidden in the field as my mortars land to his left. The grenades aren't likely to destroy the tank, but it could destroy a track and other equipment. Also, where there is infantry there are RPG, which can destroy a T-64. I order him to pull back as I bring 2 T-64s from my right rear flank. Put down autocannon fire across the high ground to try and push any infantry out of the fields. I don't want to push T-64s through the fields to hunt the T-90 with infantry hidden in the crops. Y is demonstrated when Vlasenko's T-64 takes an RPG and I lose the tank and the crew. George and the Russians don't sit back. In the last 2 minutes, 2 BMP push onto the high ground. I lose a BTR whilst a 3rd BMP rolls into view. Despite the APS, it suffers a catastrophic hit in the last seconds of the battle. And it's a Ukrainian tactical victory. I get a decent points tally for the T90 and 7 BMPs, but I regret not pushing harder for the second T90. Firstly, thanks to GeorgeMC for the battle. I think 2 T90s against 6 T64s was a big ask, even with the APS both tanks were fitted with, also several of the BMPs. The victory puts me on the tournament scoreboard, and another thanks goes out to Sly Sniper for running the tournament and creating all of the scenarios. I hope you enjoyed this video and the different setting. Don't forget to subscribe and like. There is more to come, not only Black Sea, but we will be back in the 1940s as well. I'll leave you with Pavlenko and his brave crew.